Alright, so I've been seeing something promoted a lot lately amongst pedestrian white supremacists on forums and comment sections all over the internet. They've been using three terms, three little codes to silence people or to attempt to silence people and get them shadow banned or censored. Inciting terrorism, racism, and hate speech. And I'm going to break down all three of these because these are just a few of the tactics these people use to start problems. See, number one, hate speech is just code for calling out white supremacy. That's what it is. That's what hate speech means. When these people hear a black person exposing what they do, why they do it, how they do it, that's hate speech. You're supposed to like white supremacy. You're supposed to accept it. It's apparently a good thing. So when you speak out against it, it's hate. The truth is always hate to people that hate the truth. Now, terrorism is obvious. If you tell blacks to defend themselves against an aggressor that's coming on the offensive, shooting you, killing you, raping you, and getting away with it, if you tell your own people to defend yourselves against this kind of aggression, however that may be, it could be nonviolent defense, it can be whatever, Second Amendment defense, it doesn't matter. That becomes hate speech. Excuse me, that becomes terrorism, inciting terrorism, because they know what they're doing is wrong, and if you do something about it, whatever that is, then it's terrorism. Actually, if you look at the terrorist situation, that's the exact same thing. So the white supremacist goes into the Middle East, and these people were not bothering Americans. All of a sudden, from Afghanistan to Iraq, ever since like the 50s and 60s, the people go into these places, they terrorize these people, rape them, murder them, shoot them, bomb them, and when the people fight back, it's the worst thing ever. How dare you fight back? How dare you? How dare you allow someone? I mean, how dare you not allow someone to shoot you? How dare you not allow someone to gang rape your daughter and then burn them alive and then burn your house down? How dare you take up a gun against that? They're spreading freedom, man. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. That's what they're doing to you. Now, they'll give you a couple of trinkets. They'll allow you to do business on a marginal scale. But nothing like what you were doing in the 50s and 60s, especially in an integrated economy, especially not in a global economy. Now, you saw what happened when blacks in places like Wilmington, in places like Tulsa, were doing international business. Those black people were globalists. They were doing business on a global scale. They were going to France. They were working with black people in other countries, like Marcus Garvey told them to. Minded their own business. Doctors, lawyers, industry men of different trades. They went to those towns. They rounded those people up, and they murdered them in mass. Because they don't like it when you take your destiny into your own hands. They want to control it. They want you to be at the mercy of monsters. That's all there is to this. They want to control everything you do so that if you get out of line, they can attack you. Now, racism, that's the funny one. If you have pride in your own race, not saying anything hateful, not doing anything offensive, if you have pride in your own race and you're celebrating it, they're going to claim that that's racism. That's what these pedestrian white supremacists do in these comment sections. And they're doing this so that they can spew hate. Just like, look, a perfect example is in the Black Panther movie. Now, this is a goddamn Disney film. It's a Disney film. Alright? The only thing blacks did in that movie was act in it. They got paid to act in a movie that was made in the 60s. Alright? These people saw that as some sort of symbolic victory for blacks and a direct threat to the white race. That is how they saw this. That's how white supremacists saw this. There was a video on here going, how come black people can have this fictional ethno state and we can't have a real one? That was literally the argument they were making. That is a argument these idiots were making. That is what you're dealing with here. See, they don't mind if they have the upper hand. But as soon as you just do something to benefit yourselves and they're not involved, it's the biggest threat of all time. Even if it's perceived that they aren't involved, it is the most massive threat of all time. It is war crime, it is hate speech, it is terrorism, and it's going to destroy the fabric of the white community if you do something that they're not involved in and they can't control. If you build up an economy, it is a threat to them. Everything is a threat to them. Cleaning your own bathroom is a threat to these people. Alright? So what they do is they make this big deal, they group together, and then they slander you and smear you to try to shut you up or take away your platform. Alright? And the perfect example of this is, there was back in the day, there was a young girl named Sister Soulja. She used to volunteer in her community. She was an activist. She did a lot of stuff. She did so much good stuff for her community that she got national attention. And for a while she did fine. She was just, pointing out supremacy, pointing out crime, different things like this, different issues that were going on. And one time, they did what they usually do. They like to ask people questions to get them in trouble so that they can take away the platform. And they asked her, why is there so much black on black crime in the Nigdom? That's all they asked her. And she answered it concise, no rage, no hate. It was a short, simple answer. Because, let's be honest, there's white on white crime. They flood their own communities with heroin. They shoot each other. They case each other's houses. They do break-ins, robberies, car vandalisms, rapes. They do all that stuff to each other. But they don't call it that. But what she did, she said a simple statement. And these are her words. These are Sister Soulja's words. She said, the reason why black people kill each other so easily is because they were never taught to kill white people. They were only taught to attack each other. That's all she said. And they stretched that out to make her a damn terrorist, destroyed her platform, and blacks, being the cowards that they are, they turned on her. They started calling her ugly and stupid. They were making skits about her on In Living Color. That's what you're dealing with, man. These people are so afraid now that if somebody stands up for them, that person that stands up for them is going to get attacked by them. That's why I always say, if Tariq Nasheed dies, it'll be at the hands of white people. Because they are frightened. They know they're at the mercy of monsters. They know they don't control anything in their own communities. When they try to, they get sabotaged like Marcus Garvey did, like they're trying to do in Detroit with all those black startups. This is what they do. This is what they do. And then they'll make a huge deal out of it. But if you stick up for yourself, you're a scumbag. I mean, a perfect example, another example would be Dave Chappelle, the Dave Chappelle show. See, and I'll say it again. The Dave Chappelle show was loved by white supremacists. It made white supremacists feel better about themselves to laugh at blacks. And they go, oh, it's not racist because it's black people. In reality, they were writing the jokes. It wasn't just Charlie Murphy. They were writing the jokes. They were doing the editing, and they were cutting it up to laugh at black people. There's no social commentary in a character like Ashley Larry. There's no social commentary in a character like Tyrone Biggums. Is this shit funny? Yeah, it's funny. But at the same time, I knew why they were laughing. And Dave Chappelle got on the Oprah show, and he said the real reason why he left. And black people ignored the hell out of that reason. They do not, under any circumstances, talk about what he said. And it's plain as day. The interview is up there. It's online. It's on YouTube. He said it as plain as day. It wasn't because of the fucking dress. Black people focus on the dress because they don't want to focus on the reality. They don't want to face the reality of what this guy said. They don't want to face the reality of what's going on as concerned on the national and international level. He said he realized they were not laughing with him, they were laughing at him. They were using him to make fun of black people. That is what they were doing. They were laughing at you niggas. They used that show as a way to make jokes about black people. That's what it was. I mean, you had a couple of skits, even if you look up online, the skits that were really good, that really pointed out hypocrisies, you can't find them online. But I bet you I could find the Tyrone Biggums one easily, and it won't get pulled down in 10 seconds. Like a perfect example is the skit where Dave Chappelle was a drug dealer, and they were working with him. They were telling him that he was being recorded. They were like, "Hey man, keep it down, don't," you know. And he was just being so over the top with his crime, and they were trying to help him, doing everything in their power to get him off. And then the other guy who was doing the crime, the white guy who was doing the crime, they immediately kicked down the door, shot the dog, beat the living shit out of him. When he got sentenced, which happened immediately, called him a big little beast, blah, 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 blah. They shut his ass down. And that was a perfect example of what they do. It was done in comedic fashion, but it was a skit that swept under the rug. What people remember are things like Ashley Larry, Tyrone Biggums, stuff like that. Funny to laugh at stuff. And in the third season, you can bet your bottom dollar they were going to increase that kind of stuff. Just like they did the third season of Boondocks. The third season of Boondocks was nonsense. And Aaron McGruder had no input in it. That show was pissing black people off because it forced you to look at what was going on in the black community. It forced you to look at what you're facing, how they operate, actual black ignorance, how white supremacy actually operates. And blacks don't want to see these things. They don't want to look at these things. And so there were a lot of blacks that hated Aaron McGruder. But in the third season, they toned all that down. And at the end, they pushed this whole, oh, we're all victims of the elite. And they never talk about who the elite are. And we know who the elite are. It's the white supremacist oligarchs who hide behind think tanks, politicians, police. That's who it is. The Vanderbilts, the Astors, the Rockefellers, the Kochs. These are the white supremacist oligarchs. And then you got the corporations. Because what this is an oligarchy. And all the oligarchs are white supremacists, every single one of them. Bill Cosby's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They locked his ass up with quickness. That wouldn't happen to a Vanderbilt. It damn sure didn't happen to Epstein. It wouldn't happen to a Taft. It wouldn't happen to a Bundy. It wouldn't happen to any of those guys. I mean, even the guy who was connected to the Kennedys, who raped and killed that girl, he did what, a couple of years? He like 3 years and got off. I mean, that's what you're dealing with, man. But they don't want to focus on that. So what they'll do is, it's like a half-ass concession to say that it's the Jews and not the white supremacists. So that way, even though a guy as blind as Stevie Wonder could tell that Jews are white, at the same time they won't fully admit that all of these transgressions, all of this violence, all of the manipulation, all of the theft, all these draconian laws and all this elitism, all these problems were caused by the white supremacist oligarchs. But they don't want to call it that, so they'll just blame the Jews. And then the Jews will call it anti-Semitism, and then that silences the critics. Everything they do is like open, secret censorship. Shadow banning. It's shadow silencing. That's what these guys are about. And you have to keep calling that shit out. You have to keep exposing everything they do. I don't care if you're doxing CIA agents. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're exposing FBI people that are connected to white supremacist organizations, which they did. I put up links. The reason why the FBI did that report wasn't supposed to be publicized. It was leaked. It was leaked just like the Black Identity extremist documents were leaked. And as soon as those documents were leaked, they locked all those pages away. That dossier has over 1,000 pages. They immediately locked it up. And when they did that soft-ass hearing on him, they didn't even touch on the real stuff, and he didn't answer a damn thing. He did not answer a goddamn thing. But Jeff Sessions declared war on you niggas. War. Go listen to that confirmation. Go listen to the hearing on that document. Look at the stuff he's saying. That's what it's about. That is the great so what. That is the situation that they're creating to where they can slowly but surely harm you. That is the stuff that is why I say you're on borrowed time. Go look this stuff up. Go read this stuff. Go read those documents. Go look at those videos. These guys are not playing. They want to get revenge on what happened in the 50s and 60s, in the 60s and 70s, when blacks fought for their rights. But they made sure to break down your economic base so you wouldn't have any protections, leaving you to the mercy of monsters. That's the truth, man. That is the reality you're facing. And unfortunately, that's all I got to say. Bitch.